Welcome to the regular monthly sewer commission meeting on St. Valentine's Day. To all you people out there, happy Valentine's Day. It's 6:02 and the first item will be the approval of the minutes. Joseph, did you have a chance to read through yours?
I did. Looked good to me.
Yeah, you look good to you. Okay, dear.
I'll motion that.
All right, let me see if I can find a. Okay, this is I'll second that. So motion made by Mr. Bickle, seconded by Mr. Betancourt. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is an acceptance. Okay. Before we go through the rest of the agenda, I want to just make an official announcement that Commissioner Edward Roster has resigned from the commission. He has physically moved to the city of Taunton, which therefore means he cannot serve, and his letter of resignation was submitted to the town clerk. It was something we knew might be happening, but didn't know exactly when it was going to happen. So if there's anybody out there who's interested in working with Mr. Bickle and myself, please let it be known. Okay. Correspondence.
You have none.
It's going to be easy night. Superintendent's report.
Phase 7 contract 1 update. We've attained the appraisal for the Park Place pumping station parcel. Estimated value is $15,000. I spoke with Bert Fountain to get the process started on land taking. He suggested we go to planning board first, present it to them before we can actually do land take. Phase 7 contract 2. As you know, the contract 2 went out to bid. Approximately 25 contractors have pulled plans for the project. It was a good turnout. Pre-bid meeting was held on January 23rd. Only had one show up, but at least we get 25 that pulled them. I had attended the conservation meeting along with Ty and Bond on February 6th. Conservation had requested a memo from Ty and Bond describing the proposed changes for the road drainage on Cedar Mill Drive and Juniper Hill. Apparently they're abandoning a couple of the pipes, cross pipes from catch basin to catch basin. But they explained it to me, there's still pipes tying them in further downstream. They're just not cross connected. I guess they may be in the way. There may be one that they're changing the size of the pipe to get under it. Ty and Bond will submit a letter of recommendation prior, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead there. Conservation had requested, I get that one too. And the bid opening for contract 2 will be Friday, March 1st. Ty and Bond will submit a letter of recommendation prior to the commission meeting in March. Surveying is completed on Courtney Way. Soil borings scheduled for February 21st in that area. Ty and Bond has begun on preliminary design for Courtney Way. Paramount Drive pumping station, the concrete floor has been poured. The installation of the block walls started this week. They're probably almost to the roof line now. The roof trusses are on site and the submittal process is ongoing. Bassett Knoll subdivision, pressure testing of the low pressure force main was performed. I spoke to you last month about this. The line had initially failed. They had since fixed the leaks. They had located some loose pipe joints. The line has retested and passed. Doe Run development, I reached out to the engineer once again for this project. He informs me he is still working on the revisions and he says he should have them to me shortly. Taunton Riverbank stabilization, Ty and Bond, and a subcontractor will be on site February 28th to perform geotechnical drilling, and groundwater monitoring well installation. Sewer service connections. We have had 13 sewer service pulled so far this month, plus the connection of an 8-unit apartment complex on Church Street for a total of 21 since last month's meeting. That makes a total of 26 so far this calendar year. Department training. Our mechanic Sean Hayden attended a training seminar this past Saturday as part of a process of obtaining his hydraulic hoisters license. He should be going for the test within a month or so. Fiscal year 20 budget in your packet I have provided on your desk there. I have included the budget items that have been prepared for town accountant and finance committee. Also provided for your review is the commercial versus residential flow analysis from January 2018 through December 2018. And that wraps it up.
Nice job, Rob.
Any questions?
Nope, that was pretty comprehensive.
Okay. Let's do the old business first, Fair Acres Avenue, because the new business will take a little bit of time.
As I mentioned to you guys on the last meeting, we have a resident on Fair Acres Ave has a concern of where the sewer line was put. We had it surveyed by Reed Land Surveying. So I also showed you the maps on what had happened. And the resident is present tonight, and we're still trying to come up with a solution on how to correct this. That is the assessors map showing on the assessors map where the street layout. This is where our sewer line went.
Yep. We zigged when we should have zagged.
Yes, and I also have pictures. So this is as you're driving up the street. You're coming straight and the road takes a right.
Oh, that's very similar. They did to on my court. They took a right around the
Yeah.
pole instead of a left around the
This one
pole.
shows a little better where the road should have been going.
Yeah. They went to the right around the pole instead of going straight.
Take want some copies?
As an observation, I've thought of this, and I did have the opportunity, Joe, I got a phone call from the person of concern who happens to be here with his wife tonight. The way that they put the sewer in, I'm not the lawyer, so I'm not about to say this is the best way, the only way. There's two choices. We disconnect the sewer at the manhole that we're right there in the road and reinstall it straight down the right-of-way and put it to a manhole at the very end. And then where he's on the drive, he has to connect into that. And then his property line stays the same way, his frontage is there. That's one way, and that's probably, to us, the most expensive way. An easement granted by the landowner would be the easiest way out. It doesn't, to my knowledge, it doesn't affect his frontage on the right-of-way because the easement goes right into his property. He owns the piece right up to his property line. That's part of his land assessment. We just have a right to go over it. It's the paved road on that presents the problem to him because that's the access for the abutter. Now, if we had an idea of what that entire piece of land was going to do, we could work out something with the person who is acquiring it to correct the whole thing and keep the tenant not having to let his next door neighbor drive across his front lawn in order to get to their house. The mistake was us, and it's us to correct it for as least cost to the sewer department. If we go straight up, we have to disconnect this house. And for a period of time, if he's on the sewer, he can't use the sewer. Then, if we take it out of there, all that blacktop has to come out, so his grass goes back in there.
And you're cutting
And the
down
people-
trees here.
And the people can't go around the bush beyond the pole and come out in this way. They gotta come out this way on the right of way, which would mean we have to take the trees down, cut the road, and do so on and so forth. I'm not the mediator, I'm not the negotiator. He's got a legitimate claim against us. Why did we do that? Well, if I can find out the engineer who did it, the engineer's gonna find out he's gonna have to participate in whatever it costs us to do that. But there are simple, an easement is the best for us, the easiest. Don't have to reconstruct anything. It doesn't change the right of way. It allows us to put our sewer line to that manhole, which happens to be on his property. And that's what easements are for, that you can put that in. The biggest problem is the paving used as a driveway and access to the neighbor next door to you. I don't know how long this has been. 2 years, 5 years, 25 years, 30 years, I don't know.
The plans had a date of 2002 on them. Record plans.
Because there is something on the books about egressing across somebody else's property over a period of time without obstruction, and it becomes a public right-of-way, an easement granted type of thing. That's a legal question. That's gotta go to town council and ask them, figure it out. But I think we need to, this isn't the top priority of what the sewer department has to do, but we have to put it up there, item of concern that we need to take care of as soon as we possibly can. And if we had to go in and put the sewer line in for another 300 feet or so, that wouldn't be the worst thing, because it's a piece of gravity line from this manhole to a new manhole. But this is all woods,
Yeah, I can see that.
and we'd have to cut the woods, prepare the site, and pave it after we put that on. Then he would have to hook up to the sewer.
So you're gonna have 2 roads there.
No, you wouldn't have 2 roads. I would redeem that piece and put it back to grass, yes.
Okay.
That puts,
So this is
This house up in
Michael
here.
and Elaine's home here?
yeah,
Yeah, I can see that.
That
Okay, so that's
puts-
the house we're talking about.
that puts the neighbor in a position, but that neighbor may have a legal right to do that because of the length of time it was done with never being stopped. It's craziness in the background, and I'll tell you why I say that. I lived in Taunton. I lived on parallel street to Main Street on Broadway and Presby Avenue. And there was a parking lot next to me on one side of the house, and on the other side of the house that was for Southern Mass Oil. There's a gas station there. There's Joe's Diner there on Broadway. And because people would drive through the parking lot and go out to Broadway and so on, come back and forth, every so many years, I don't remember how many, they would put gates up, put a fence up, no passage. they had to shut it down for a period of time before it became a normal path. Most roads are created where the cows used to go and where the wagons went. If it was a bump over there, they'd go around the bump, and that's how the road kind of went this way instead of going straight. There may or may not be that situation there, Mike, but I can't control what she's gonna do. I can control us putting the sewer in the right of way, cutting the trees, putting it where it should be, removing the pipe to the manhole that's on the corner, at the edge of your property, and pulling all that blacktop off. And then your lot has no encumbrances from us. If that's what has to be, that's what will be. If your neighbor understands the problem and doesn't have any right across your property, maybe they'll pay you to leave the right of way, or leave the roadway there and give that a right of way to that property. I don't know how long you've lived there with that there, okay? You always thought the sewer was in the front of your house when it should have been over like that, okay? I have no problem with moving it, believe me.
Yeah, that was a dirt road originally, just a dirt path up, all the way up there was all dirt until they put the sewer line in. Then they paved it afterwards.
Well, yeah, okay, see, the dirt path went up and didn't go through the woods. It went to the right of the pole, and the engineers laying it out thought that was the roadway, or the right-of-way,
Yeah.
okay? So that was a mistake. It wasn't by plan on site, it was, oh, the guy went off this way, that must be the roadway. You can't assume that, you know, you really need to do the engineering. Apparently, they didn't, okay?
I have a question, if I could. The Ketchums, do they have a garage on the other side of these pictures? Do you know? They don't? Does anybody know?
Attached to the house, on the other side of the house.
My question is, if we put this road, yeah, that's what I'm figuring, but if you put this road straight, how are they gonna get in the garage?
Well, they have to come out of the garage and go here.
It's gonna go right across their front yard, you're coming out.
No,
here.
we're not gonna extend the road beyond that, because that's the property line.
Oh, okay, all right, I see what you're saying. Okay, so the road's gonna end.
All we have to do is put this back to a manhole right here.
The sewer.
Yeah, take this piece out and straighten that out just like
And
that.
that's gonna be, is this gonna
And
be on
it will
pavement?
it will be in the right of way,
On pavement.
on paper.
No,
And
on
then-
pavement.
And then what happens is that this is his frontage, like that.
Mhm.
He then has his sewer that goes right to here. It would have to be brought into
Yep.
the connection. This person's sewer, which on one of the plans
It's right
shows
here, I think, right?
it comes over like this to the
Yeah.
manhole,
Yeah, right in there,
okay?
My question is this part of the road staying?
If I were to do this blacktop with all this, from this piece right here to that piece in front of his yard, that would all be taken out and I'd have grass there.
Okay, so we're gonna have a road that goes here, and then it's gonna have to connect to this road. Or,
No, I don't know how this got, she must have put this afterwards. We didn't go beyond that. We went to the manhole.
yeah, that's fine. I'm just trying to logistically figure this out, whether, who's responsible, I don't know. But if they enter their garage this way, looking at the picture, they're gonna be coming straight across, which,
Like this.
like that. I guess that would be interesting. Just saying that this would no longer be active, because you're not gonna have a jog and get back on this part.
No. Or they make some type of arrangement to leave it there.
Wait, hold on.
The driveway on her property, after the sewer line was put in and extended down there, was doubled inside and brought down to where the pavement was, where the sewer was. Originally, there was just a one-car garage with a small dirt driveway in front of it.
So she doubled the length to match, to meet the
Well,
angle?
double the width.
Okay.
Created like a double driveway instead of a single. and then brought it down to meet where the line was paved in past where the last manhole was.
Okay.
I don't even know, I
See what
don't
I'm
know,
saying?
I
So we
wasn't there
paved
when
pa-
it happened.
Whoever paved past that, it doesn't sound like it was her, she just connected her driveway to it.
No, I realize it, I mean, I see where it says paved way,
Mhm.
but we put a manhole there and we didn't extend the manhole.
Yep.
Okay?
I was surprised that they paved past where the last manhole was on the pavement.
Well, I can only speak for myself, Mike. That can be corrected. And it will be corrected one way or another. The real problem that lies is that if we go out there and say, we put it in the wrong place, pull a pipe out and go over, here's the manhole, if they still have a right to use the misplaced right-of-way, they'll be driving across your property. And that's not the way it should be, okay?
That's my main concern, is the liability that I have with people going back and forth if somebody got hurt or.
No, I realize that. Now, if, if we expanded the easement to include the right-of-way, that would be a public, who plows it?
The town does.
Then if we expanded that, I think they could do it legally because the easement is just a right-of-way to cross your property. And if somebody crosses your property on a right-of-way or an easement, it's a legal question as to how much liability you would have. If somebody crashes into another car on the street in front of your house, you're not responsible. It's in the right-of-way. Okay? If somebody crashes in your driveway, you could be responsible because it's on your property. It might be as simple, and I try to make things as simple as possible. It might be as simple as granting us an easement, not that's 20 foot wide, but that whole triangular piece of your front of your property, the big piece of it, from the road where the sewer goes, and actually the roadway, the edge of the roadway, that big piece of the whole triangle that you have there, not the width. That would be easement. That would be the easement, okay? You still had frontage on the street, so it's not a problem to you. Then that is not your liability. It belongs to the easement. But technically, just because we have an easement, you own the land under the easement.
Correct.
So it has to be defined so that you're happy. The cleanest way is to move the whole damn thing and make her go down the street, or him go down the street. That puts his house very, very close. It might not be easy for, but does she own all of this? Next to you? You're here. Does she, you're here. Does she own all of this?
I believe so.
Yeah, you can take a look, if you wanna come up here.
If I'm looking
So
at
the
the right.
question is,
I'm
if she
looking
owns
at the
this
right
parcel.
way.
Right here, Mike. Okay?
All right, this is my house
Yeah.
here, okay, yeah, she owns like.
You see this?
Yeah, she-
This is her house.
Okay,
There's the lot. And
Yeah,
it's
that's
right
all.
in here. She owns all of that.
that's all it is, correct.
Yeah, okay. If we go back and do that, she's got enough maneuverability in there to bring it. She'd have to bring the sewer down to there and find some way to drive to it. She might not be able to sell this to somebody for a subdivision because she can't get the road to extend.
And who's going to be paying the repavement of her driveway?
That's not her driveway. Anything on her property, we didn't put on.
This is her property.
Yeah, but this is, she thought that's the right of way, but it's not the right of way. This is the right of way.
Yep. Which brings me back 2 steps of, this was 2002, I believe you said, Rob, correct? The engineer was whom? Reed?
Tybog.
Tybog?
Did the project.
Okay,
Read the
yeah.
survey and did the
Yeah.
survey to verify this for us.
Okay, so I would talk to those two and see about our hold harmless indemnification agreements, because at the end of the day, we paid for a service. You didn't make the error, you didn't make the error, you didn't make the error, we rely on these professional services. And it seems like this is gonna be coming out of our budget, when shouldn't be.
Are you learning about?
I'm learning.
This is,
I said that to him. I said that there would be somebody who would participate. Well, how would you go back and get the contractor who did that? I said, I'm not going after the contractor. The contractor put the pipe in where the stakes were.
exactly. That's-
The engineer, and who was the engineer? By the way, it happened to be our regular engineer.
Yep.
Now, they disagree with us. That's not a hard thing to do. I just don't pay their bill.
yeah. I mean, at the end of the day,
See,
Same
We
page.
we went to the same,
Yeah.
how do you collect the money that we shouldn't have to pay?
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm an insurance guy, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
always
Yes.
looking for those.
So,
But
you know,
I mean,
Mike, if they were to, and I don't know whether they would or not, if they were to give you a certain sum of money that you felt comfortable on and it worked with the easement, that might be the easiest way. All that would happen, in fact, is that instead of your property line being on the edge of the right-of-way, it would be at the edge of the pavement, but you'd still be frontage on the right-of-way type of thing.
The right of way runs through the woods. He had talked to me about swapping land or something, but he wanted that land that I have on the right of way, which if I lose my land that's on the.
Here's a telephone pole.
Right,
The road went over here,
correct,
should've went over there.
correct.
So,
do you
Yeah.
own those bushes? Sorry.
I own land where the actual pavement is.
Yep.
I own land on the other, I own land on the other side of that telephone pole too.
Yeah, I'm wondering, so
That's where my
those
front- that's where my
bushes are
frontage
yours,
is.
technically, it looks like. These bushes from this picture. These bushes.
Some of those,
Yeah.
yeah, if you.
Yeah, so this is coming up into this area.
See, that's where the right of way
And your
is.
property line ends here.
My property,
Yeah.
so this is,
Okay.
yeah, this is all, that's,
Yeah.
that's mine, yeah, so this is all.
that
it
telephone,
comes
that
up.
telephone
here.
pole could very easily be on your property, right there.
It is,
Okay.
Okay, so your property should have gone this way, and the road goes that way, so what I'm saying is,
This is the property.
feasibility wise, to put it in, we can put it in. We can move the sewer. But because it was paved by error, and it was paved 16 years ago, 2002, they may have some type of legal right to leave it the way it is. I can't make that decision. I won't even assume what it might be. And that question has to be asked of legal to find out. If they have no claim to that, then if you want, all of this will be pulled up, we'll put the pipe right down there. You got it from us. We put it in the wrong place. It's gonna cost us money to move. We'll move it. If it cleans you up and you don't have any problem with her being able to go in there. Or if it works just by giving us that triangular piece as an easement, so our easement goes there, then we can grant her an easement to go across that. Now, the only downside for you, she sells the property and somebody wants to come in here off this right away and put 3 or 4 houses. you're gonna think they're going across your property, but you have to remember, you're looking out there, nothing changes, it's paved. Because right now, you're sitting in your window, and the paving goes right there, and all of a sudden, we find out it's in the wrong place. Your frontage is not here, it's right there, but you still have this frontage on the right-of-way. Actually, your frontage for the right-of-way is up here, Mike. It just got swung down.
Here's the
Yeah.
right, here's the right,
Yeah.
that's the right of way according to
Yeah.
my deed.
No, I know that, that's what I'm saying to you. It's right there.
So, isn't the way right-of-ways work is each person owns to the middle of the right-of-way? Is that how they work?
You know, one of the things that's always been a question, if this is just a right-of-way, it's not a street, why is the town plowing it? Okay? Because on a subdivision, town doesn't plow until it gets the streets deeded to them. But the town, in their convenience, has always helped out and done that, because people are paying taxes because they're on there. A right-of-way is a no man's land that's owned by the town, where they put all the utilities and any services that have to go. Right? We don't own the land going off of King Street coming on to Katy Street. We have an easement that grants us the right to go in there, but you have a 20-foot wide, you can't do 22 feet. And they own the land, we have a right to go on it. So, let us pursue.
I'll keep in touch with Mr. Carey and, you know, let him know, but I'll have to check on this part here. As far as them going over the paved portion of the property, as far as my liability, that's my biggest concern.
Well, this is theirs, right there, it's on their property.
That is correct.
So they come out and they go across your property. Now, I don't know, are they good neighbors? Are they lousy neighbors? I don't know, and that has an awful lot to do with it. If in the bottom, in the final analysis, if we have to go in here and do that, we'll do it.
Yeah, I know, it's an expensive process.
Well,
That's-
listen.
Yeah.
I
understand.
know it's gonna cost a little bit of money, but I also know that I'm gonna get some of that money back from the engineers who screwed up. Because they're still working for us.
Okay. Let me check into this portion and I'll get back to Mr. Carey.
If you leave it like this, we still need
The
an
easement.
easement from you, and the best way is to take the full triangle, not the strip. Take the full triangle.
Including the right of way.
Well, the right-of-way, this right-of-way, that easement across the corner of your property gives us a right-of-way to come in and go into here. So, all it would be is your frontage is here instead, your frontage stays there,
Yeah.
except your frontage has an easement on it.
But this would be part of the easement too, this actual, the legal right of way.
That stays right there, because I don't own that, I don't have to control that. That you have this under your deed. You just have to give us an easement across that portion of your property.
Okay. All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
I'll give you an example of the same thing right across to the street over here. When we were building the school and we came in, we couldn't make the swing into the school property because of the back lot line. So the owner of the property, I told him the situation. He cropped out the corner, back corner of the lot, and deeded it to us. Didn't need an easement because the lot hadn't been sold yet. He just cropped it out so that we could make it. So that lot, instead of going back straight, goes back and then takes a big turn on the back side. Basically the same thing with that, they couldn't get the swing in there. We will do what we can, you let us know.
Okay, Sounds
you know,
good.
and,
Sorry for the inconvenience.
yeah, I apologize for the mistake that was made prior to the two Joes in charge, J&J Sewer Commission.
It's always easy to point fingers.
You know, yeah, and it's 2020 looking back, you know, it wasn't ours, we don't have to say, oops, excuse me, mea culpa, mea
This
culpa.
didn't happen within 11 months, right?
No.
I'm off the hook.
No, it happened quite a while ago, I'm off the hook, it happened
It was
before.
a joke, it was a
Thank
joke.
you for your time, though, I appreciate it.
Yes, we will do what we can, and we will keep our superintendent puddling along. Okay. Let's get down to the new business. And we'll do part B first, Joe. Discussion and approval of the budget.
Excellent.
You've had the opportunity to see Mr. Rob's budget that was presented,
I have.
and
I noticed some yellow highlighting. That was an adjustment that Dave Grab made.
659, yeah.
Yeah, he reduced that fee down.
Well, whatever the number is, that's the number, that's
Right.
fine, but that's a round
Minor-
number anyways.
Minor, yep, minor
Yeah,
adjustment.
it went down.
Mhm.
Wasn't there one that went up also?
Yes, the retirement and pension went up.
Yeah, okay. Now, this budget is what it's gonna take to operate, with the exception of that bottom line that we put into the budget.
Yep.
Rob's worked very hard on this, and I've had an opportunity to spend some time with him. I don't know if you were able to take any time just to get some feedback from him. You know, we can't sit together and try to work it as, but it's a fair operating budget, and it is what it is. It's the cost of doing business. The business is getting bigger.
You gotta balance the books.
Yes, and this actually is a little bit, the real operating budget is a little bit less than it was last year, other than the last item. So, I'm going to mention what the last item is with with a brief explanation. Then I would ask if you want to recommend the budget, you can recommend the budget, then we can go through the voting process. Our operating budget for the year, as presented by our superintendent, is $2,883,078, of which a single line item is new to the operating budget called bond debt reduction of $500,000. Now that $500,000 happens to be the amount of money, a payment that we have to pay into the betterment account. This is for the public. They're sleeping about 3 o'clock some morning, they'll be watching it. The betterment account is that portion of the sewer construction that is 25% of the total cost that was charged directly to the homeowners when the sewers were built. That was supposed to go into a designated account. It didn't. It went into the revenue account of the sewer department. And over a period of time, money was used out of that account to balance the operating budget. My predecessors and Joe's predecessors were very happy to say we had the 3rd lowest sewer rate in the state of Massachusetts. That's because they weren't making adjustments for the operating budget. They were taking it from money that was available, and the money that was available was money that was supposed to be betterment to use to pay the bond down. Historically, for the past 4 years, I've been on the trail trying to dig into how and what, and I'm not gonna have no intention of pointing a finger at anybody in particular, other than the fact that we have a problem. I was elected, Joe was elected to oversee the sewer department, and our fiduciary responsibilities are to make sure we have an operating revenue that can sustain the department. Well, I found out that the number in the happy news is the number exceeds $2.1 million that is short in the betterment account. I've worked with the treasurer, and he's come up with a number. Makes sense. I did some backtracking, and I came up with a number that was somewhere around $1.4 million. I didn't go all the way back. I just went back, and those of you who pay attention to the town meeting, in the town, once you get your budget and you get your booklet, look at the prior year, and it says the sewer department, and it says operating budget approved X, and the next article was transfer from retained earnings to balance the operating budget. That's because the operating budget wasn't high enough, the revenue wasn't high enough to cover the costs. The rates should have been going up. So we decided, I want to say we, the commission, generally speaking anyways, decided that we need to stop kicking the can down the road and let's get corrective. The timing of this is, some people would say it's too early, it's not right, you don't have to do this. The timing of it's going to work out because we're going to be able to create a budget that I believe, honestly, that the rate won't change for another 2, 3, or 4 years. There's a little bit of play, but and the reason I say it's important to do it now is because 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years from now, we're going to be paying 15.5% of the capital expenditure for the Taunton Sewer Department. Mandated by court, mandated by the Environmental Protection Agency, you name it, it's all in there. They're in court right now, they're hoping and praying. There's a $20 million project that's going on as we speak. The first $10 million has been committed and is under construction. In about maybe 2 years, we will be tagged with our first payment on that. Our share, 15.5 at the moment, 15.5 or 20 million is very easy to figure out what it is, you know. It's $31 million, $3.1 million we have to pay. 15% of 20 million, okay? This $500,000 will get us to pay back the betterment deficiency, and we'll be on track to have money to pay the city of Taunton without having to jump the rate up and jump the rate down. The second phase of Taunton, I'm scared to say it, but I looked at it with a budget of 70 million. And at a meeting today that the superintendent and I attended, if the DEP, EPA, whichever the hell one that the federal government is banging on their head, if they disagree, the number could be in excess of 100 million. Now, it doesn't take long to say 100 million, that's $15 million over 20 years. 750,000 a year for 20 years, over 25 years. Divide that into the 750, you know. They're even talking a possibility of a 30-year bond. But regardless, the debt service can be anywhere from 400 to 750,000 a year. our share of that could possibly be a $120 million project. We can't bury our head in the sand. We know what's coming, we gotta be prepared for it. We gotta take care of our problem before we have to get into that. So based on that, we incorporated that line into the budget. So, our budget is $2,883,078. Would you like to make some comments, Joseph?
My comment would be exactly what I said to Rob, that I thought it was excellent. Did a great job with the budget. I would certainly recommend this, and I think you did very eloquently explain the financial situation that the town is in and is going to be in pretty soon.
Yes.
So it's necessary to make these, or take these steps.
All right. So do I have a motion to accept the budget as presented by our superintendent?
I will move that.
Motion made by Commissioner Bickle and second by Commissioner Bettencourt. Any further discussions? Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The vote is 2-0. Okay. That takes care of the budget. Now, the second part is establishing the rates. This requires a little bit of a history lesson for all of our friends out there. A year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we had Ty and Bond do a study of what it cost the average homeowner for sewer in the state of Massachusetts. The median price per home, the median, we were down at $260. The median price was $742. We were well below that. That's because we hadn't been adjusting to cover our operating budget. I did the review and we went through the numbers and we're at $300 per household per year. The rate that I'm going to propose for the house as well as for the commercial is a rate that will deliver to us adequate funds to cover the $2.9 million budget. And here's how we did it. We did it entirely by usage. Some communities there's a meter and it's based on your water. The only meters we have in the town are on commercial, basically. We gave the city of Taunton 369 million gallons of liquid and solids and good stuff last year. The meter that we had for the commercial meters was somewhere around 145 million gallons. That represented just under 40% of the use. So that being the basis, we have to get 40% of our budget from commercial rates and 60% budget from our residential rates. Using that formula, we came up with a set of numbers. We had I had done a couple of numbers a couple of different times. I'm chuckling because I came up with a number and it was a number, and my fellow commissioner here throws a number out. I said, I don't know if we have to go that high, but well, he was very prophetic. And what it comes down to is that our residential rates will have to be increased from $300 a year to $420 a year. Keep in mind that 3 years ago, the median was $742. So we're in the bottom quarter. Billed biannually, and a commercial user rate, which was $5 a thousand gallons, is going to $7.80 per thousand gallons. That calculation with the current residential units and the current gallons used by the commercial will generate $2,909,130. And we need $2,883,078. So on the long shot, you know, there's just about $20,000 more. There may be $20,000 we don't collect. But from this point forward, the commission is going to make sure that the rate that you're charged will cover the operating budget. Now, there are miscellaneous revenue that we pick up. As you heard from the superintendent, we had 10 people hook up. They have a hookup fee. What happens is those hookup fees won't last forever. Once you're hooked up, you're done. The fees that we collect are something because we're a business in process. Need a license to install sewer. 25 people come in, they pay the fee for the license in case they want to do an installation in the town. That's revenue that's not sustainable. There are a number of those. So in order to sustain the sewer department, we need to make sure that the rate that the users pay covers the cost of operation. That was a mistake that prior commissions made by not adjusting it and using money from a pot to keep it low. Our hope is that we're going to be able to hold this for a couple of years, 3 years. And then hopefully, if things work out, keep our nut to the city of Taunton at around the $500,000.
That we've already budgeted in to keep it low.
We're accustomed to that pay. And if we had to go up $2 a year for homeowners to cover, it's a trickle. I tried to figure out a way that we could do it over a period of time. Can I do it over 15 years? Do I take the $2 million and divide it by 15 and say, this is what we need for 15 years? Yes, you could do that. But if I had to add $500,000 or $600,000 to that number when Taunton hits us, there's palpitations. There's palpitations with this, but believe me, a lot of time was put into this, a lot of thought, a lot of comparison, discussions was put into it. So this is the net result, not necessarily of my dictating these numbers, but more along the line of compilating the numbers with the superintendent and with the treasurer, with the town accountant, so they understand where were we. And the town treasurer gave me a cutout sheet. It's $2,100,000 and some odd that the account is deficient. Now that's not all due tomorrow. It's due on the life of the loan. But in 4 years or the plus, it will be there and we never have to worry about it again. It belongs to town hall to take care of it. It's not ours, where it should have been. Footnote to that, that account was requested of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in 2002. It was approved and sent to the town of Raynham in 2003. to be voted on. This commission voted on it October 2018. Once we found, we acted. So now there's never gonna fall into our bucket again. We just have to put it back into the bucket that it belongs in. So with that little history, do you have any comments you'd like to make, Joseph, before I look for a motion?
I do not. I would just say, from a percentage standpoint, it looks bad. From a monetary standpoint, it's not that bad. It's $120, and I believe we have to keep this in perspective, where other municipalities are paying significantly more for their sewer service than we are. No one wants to see rates go up, especially me and my personality, but like you said, we have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure we're bringing enough income to run the department. So unfortunately, this is something that we need to do. So much for my non-comment.
It's important
Yep.
that the people who listen to this, and I mean this sincerely, I truly do. I don't want them to think it's the Joe Betancourt show. I have the loud mouth. I'm the voice that's out there. It's people sitting here that make the decision. I sometimes am been accused of being the guy bringing the bad news. And I said, it's only bad because you don't like it. It's the news. Here's the facts. What are you going to do with it? Well, let the next commission take care of that. Let the next commission after that take care of it. Comes to a point where you've got to stop kicking the can down the road. With that being said, to make it official, I would entertain a motion that we set the rates for residential users increased from $300 per year to $420 per year. We'll do 2 votes. Effective immediately, not to be billed until July. And the reason for that is this revenue covers that operating budget, a fiscal year. And the tying the revenue with the expenditures is something that hadn't been done in the past. So
Moved on that.
moved by Mr. Bickle, seconded by Mr. Betancourt. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is a vote. For the commercial user rates will be increased from $5 per 1,000 gallons to $7.80 per 1,000 gallons. Again, it's billed biannually. Effective immediately, to be billed on the July billing.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Bickle, seconded by Mr. Betancourt. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is a vote. It has been a struggle, to be honest with you, because we pay those bills too. So, okay, we took care of old business, we took care of new business. Do we have any emergency business?
No, sir.
And any commission reports?
I do not have any.
Well, I will give a brief one that I made reference to. I had a meeting today with the city of Taunton, with the superintendent. I want to bring you up to speed on this. And I had gone in with 2 questions for him. When do you think I'm going to start getting a bill for phase 1? And what do you think the time frame is on phase 2? And our discussion also went with the possibility of getting more capacity. That's kind of a complicated one because they have a problem with their plant. They're going to build a plant. Initially, they were told they had to replace the plant, but they couldn't increase the capacity, which any reasonable human being would say that doesn't make sense. But we're not dealing with reasonable human beings, we're dealing with the federal government, and they say, no, you can't do that. So, their problem is that there are three communities involved in the Taunton sewer plant. Dayton, Raynham, Taunton. Taunton has Raynham has 1.3 million gallons allotted to us. Dayton, I think, has 6.
And that's per day for everybody out there.
They have 600,000 gallons a day. And Taunton has the rest. And the plant's built for 8.4 million. The plant's doing something like 9.3. So they're handling a lot more water. And of course they can say to us, you're flushing too many times, and I say, I don't think so, because we're just doing about 1 million gallons a day at this rate. Okay, so there's infiltration and other things that they have to tend to. And there's a whole scientific approach they have, you know. Climate change is increasing the height of the water table, which means you're more in infiltration, and it's this and it's that. And I said, okay. But they're willing to cooperate, and they're willing to help us out, because they understand the problem. They're very well pleased with the way we have managed our situation. They're kind of amazed with the fact that when this construction season is over in the fall, the town of Raynham, 98% of the town of Raynham will have access to sewer. 98%. We have about 76% of those people who could have access hooked up right now. Once the construction is finished, there'll be somewhere around 1,440 house connections that could be made to bring us up to the 98%. So I do an analysis, I play with numbers, and we're pushing that 1,300,000 to the limit. And I needed to make sure that they were going to be willing to give us some help. Of course, what can they do to us? I can't go to, you can flush this week, you flush next week type. You can't do that. But there is one of those 800-pound gorillas in the room called the federal government, who would turn around and say, no more sewer expansion. Well, we're not expanding. No hookups. And that's the only way you can control the gallons. But I think we're going to be okay if Taunton does what they have to do, and we just have to keep our fingers crossed and do what we've been doing and taking care of things. But they are more cooperative than they had been in the past. And actually, the commissioner down there said, we ought to get together monthly.
Yeah. In fact, I think he said weekly.
I says, for what? But I think it's because we've been quite open and transparent, giving them hard numbers, got no smoke screen. And this is what's happened, this is what we're doing. We're projecting X number here, X number there, and this, and taking that into consideration and putting it together. From the management saying it's being done very well by Rob. And he's keeping us well informed, and we're able to make decisions based on the stuff that he gives us, and it's good, hard, it's not fake news. We get accurate stuff so that we can act accordingly. Anything? Okay.
Do not have.
On the agenda, we now have public forum. Do we have any questions from the people here? There being none, there's no press here. So, the Fourth Estate decided not to visit. Okay. Well, the last thing we're gonna do is to adjourn for performance of administrative duties and no further business activities. So I need a motion for that.
I will move to adjourn.
Mr. Bickle has made the motion to adjourn to do administrative duties and no business. I second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. It is 7:07.